Hey guys, Canuck here, and we are going to wrap up our Course 101 design series by trying to put everything together to create a golf hole from start to finish. So I'm going to try to walk you through my process, try to incorporate as much stuff as we've learned in the first few tutorials, and put everything together. So I am recording this just a few days after they've come out with their first patch. So the patch fixed a few problems, for example, with clicking and dragging for bunkering and things like that. So that's been fixed, as well as some things you can do with shapes versus splines. So I'll try to talk about that a little bit. This will be a bit of a longer video. I might actually split this up into 3 segments. That'll be a little bit more easily digestible. But yeah, we're going to go from there. So what I have done is I'm at the very, very start. And if you want to see my settings, I've set my water level to low, hills, kind of hilly, lots of trees, and then plants, grass, and rocks down to 0. Again, that's totally up to you how you want to do it. Also, something just to make sure is before you start, you set your rough width both down to 0. That's something that's easily forgotten, and yeah, it gets rid. So basically, all you have is a tee box and a pin, which is all you want. So I'm recording this on PC with a Xbox controller. Some people are asking me why I don't use a mouse, which you'd think, yeah, probably be a little more intuitive. I actually disagree. I find the controller a lot easier to use, maybe just because I'm more used to it. So anyway, I've been reading through comments, and the #1 kind of basic feature that people want to see is, how do I build a decent uphill hole? So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to build an uphill par 4. So when I starting is honestly the hardest part. Trying to figure out where, you have this hunk of land. Okay, trying to figure out where it's going to start, routing your holes, all that stuff. But just kind of keep it simple. I mean, some people like to flatten everything, go from there. I highly don't recommend that. I highly disrecommend. No, that's not a word. I don't recommend it. Let's just say that. I like to just kind of let the natural land and kind of sculpt into it, just like what a real life designer would do. They're given a plot of land and they've got to build a golf course kind of that rolls with the land for the most part. So yeah, just kind of go around, try to get an idea of how your course is going to flow. If you want to add some extra hills and some things like that, go for it. I like to do that sometimes, some like larger hills and mountains, and then just kind of give me some more ideas to where to design from there. But just take a look around. Try to find some, good-looking golf holes, some sight lines. Maybe get rid of some trees to help you out as well. I mean, something like this. So maybe I could use this lake to make a hole here. I don't know. So just kind of use your imagination. But in this one, we're going to build an uphill hole, and I do kind of like this sight line here. It's going to be straight on. I'm going to perch the green kind of on top of this hill, and it's going to kind of go slightly down the hill like this. So that is the plan. All right, so we're going to start by clearing out some of these auto-generated trees. Just give ourselves a line of where the hole's going to be. There we go. I'm going to get rid of this little measuring tool. This was just to remind me where I was going to put this hole. All right, so we'll start by laying down our first hole. So with the settings, this should just lay a tee box and a green. So we'll have our 287. Master clubs go 284 from the tips, so we'll go 287. And then, yeah, put it some. So it's about a 440-yard hole. Be careful when laying your waypoints. Just always keep an eye on that yards to tee up here. Just a common thing that people do is sometimes they'll set their waypoint here, and then when you're actually playing the game will have you tee off with a 192-yard club. So it could be a 5-iron or a 4-iron or whatever, which is minor, but it's annoying, especially when it's a driver hole and you got to flip the driver to do it. But just something to keep in mind. Okay, So the nice thing is shapes actually work because we were having issues with the shapes not resizing properly. That seems to be fixed. So if you want to use shapes with greens, you're welcome to do that. But I think we'll stick to splines for this. We might do some shapes with our fairways, but let's start by laying down our green here. So I'm kind of thinking this hole, it's going to have a green here, maybe some bunkering in here, and then the fairway is going to kind of S this way. We'll see. It's going to be a fairly basic hole, so let's get going here. So I'm going to try to talk my way through this as much as I can. Again, I don't really have an idea here. It's just going to hopefully flow organically here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not, so bear with me. Alright, so we'll smooth our path. So these are hopefully lots of things that I've shown you guys. I'm going to do second rough. I'm finding about 4 yards is my sweet spot. Alright, so there's our green, so it's very crooked. So what we're going to do is we want this green to kind of sit up on the hill and just kind of pop up a little bit. I don't want it to sink right into the ground, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten it, but I'm also going to raise it a little bit, about a foot. So now I'm just going to use this round brush and just flatten the area around it. This might be a little bit high now that I look. It's not terrible. So I want it to be a little bit more natural looking, so I'm going to use this fuzzy flatten brush just to kind of flatten out these so it's not too sharp, especially here because this is where the fairway is going to feed down this way. And I'll probably do a little bit over here. I'm just kind of flattening out this sharp incline here. Like so. Alright, so there's our green. We'll go back to it later, but that's a starting point. So now we are going to lay our fairway. Now, so I will kind of show you the old method of laying fairway, which was effective. It's a little bit trickier now in 2019 because you have to make sure your rough widths are about the same, but I'll show you what we did in TGC 1 and TGC 2 when we didn't have the splines. So if you wanted to lay fairway, you'd have to do it this way. So you go to create surfaces, fairway, go to your brush, and you basically have to change your brush shapes. So what you're going to try to do is just try to have the shapes flow as much as they can. You don't want a lot of sharp edges. So basically you'd lay it like that. You wouldn't move your brush. You'd back out to rough, go to brush, and then you'd click about 3 or 4 times. I found 3 or 4 was about the sweet spot. I think I did 5 there. Just comparing it to the green side. That's pretty close. So you used to do that, and then you'd make another one. Something like this. And you do the same thing. And you try to connect different shapes of brushes and create a fairway. It was quite time consuming. Still, you can make some pretty interesting, cool fairways with it. But I do like, especially right around the green, I still find the shapes to be rather effective. So I'm actually going to keep this. I'm going to just move a few of these points over a bit. There we go. Okay. So now we're just going to do it spline way here. Alright, so I'm going to start it about here. So what I want it to do is come down the hill here. Okay. Once they get about to 200 mark, that's kind of where I want the front of the fairway to be. Just remember with your fairway, you don't want the fairway to start too far out, because if you don't want to start it at 250, because if it's a strong wind and you're uphill, a strong headwind, You're in danger not even making the fairway, which is infuriating. So just kind of be careful with that. So I'm kind of pinched the fairway off. I don't know if I want that, but it's fine. This is just for tutorial's sake. This is not going to be a stunner of a hole. Alright, so we do the same thing. We smooth our path, close our path, fill our spline, toggle our second surface, some rough, and 4 is about the sweet spot. Alright. Okay, so now, uphill. As you can see, it is kind of a nice uphill right now, but it needs some work. It's very squiggly, messy. How do you kind of keep that nice flowing uphill so it's not just really stark? So again, it's just using, I like to use the flatten tool. This tool works nicely, and this little fuzzy brush here, and this super fuzzy brush on page 4, which is probably my favorite, which I like to use. But I just keep kind of things at 0, spread it out so it's fairly big, and then I just kind of go along, flatten my edges, like so. So I'm getting rid of that really steep transition from rough to fairway. Just trying to get rid of that as much as I can. Okay. So we're just flattening this for now. I mean, we might add some slopes here and there with our fairway later, but just for now, we're straightening out all our edges. Again, not doing anything fancy, just moving along, clicking once, flattening everything out here. All right, there we go. We've got a nice kind of gradual uphill looking hole here. Not too bad. All right, let's now add our tee boxes here. So one thing we did forget to do, tee box settings, put that to 0. Tee boxes, you can do whatever you want here. I'm going to just make a pair of square tee boxes. I'm going to do 4 tees, but maybe a pair of square tee boxes. I prefer using green for my tee boxes. Some people like to use fairway. Totally up to you. Doesn't really matter. Whatever you like. Alright, so that's probably good. And then I back out, go to my rough. Usually with this brush, there's 2 clicks, and you've got a nice border of rough. And I'm going to do the same thing, maybe a little further up right here. One and 2. That one's a little bit smaller than the other one, but that's okay. Now we're going to flatten it out. I try to use my similar brush. Go. We'll flatten it, probably raise it up a tad. And we'll do the same here. I want to watch for some real stark downhill, like if it's really sharp, like I'll probably do some planting in here. I don't know about this water. We may think about using that. I'm not sure. So we are now going to add a tee position. I'm going to put one right there. Add another one. Put it here. And we'll do a 4th one here. I'm going to just keep those colors, blue, white, green, red. Sure, why not? That works for us. Now, another little thing sometimes I like to do is just to have this back tee pop up a little bit. Some people like this, some people don't. So totally up to you if you want to use this, but sometimes I pop up the back. So I take the square, cut it in half, and I just pop up the back tee about 1.5 feet, just to get that little slightly uphill look. But totally up to you. Some people, like I said, some people like it, some people don't. All right. All right. So we've got our tee boxes. We've got a fairway laid down. We've got a green. So now we want to start kind of thinking about what our tee shot's going to look like. And right now, if you look for the back tees, I mean, it's going to be kind of nice here, but I want the bottom part of this fairway showing. I want the golfer to see from the start of the fairway and all the way up. That's what I want. And right now, this hill here is kind of ruining our view. So let's try to get rid of this as best we can. So again, same tool. I do 80 to 90% of my sculpting with this one tool. I just kind of make it big, and I'm going to drop it down a bit. And just do it in a few different places. So as you can see there, that's already done fairly well. Now I'm going to add a little bit of uphill to my fairway. You guys wanted to see that, so again, it's just adding not a ton, but just adding a gradual little incline to the overall hole here. And there we go. Alright, I'm not a huge fan of how this fairway looks. I'm just going to move this out here. Move this out here. Let's make that a little bit bigger. This is the danger you run into sometimes with splines. You can get a lot of those wavy lines. Still don't really like that. So sometimes deleting a waypoint can help straighten things out like that. Alright, that's not terrible. That's fine. Pretty fairly wide fairway, but that's okay. Alright, so as for trees, I do kind of just want to clean things up again. I don't like trees that close to the fairway. We'll add in our own trees later. So I'm going to get rid of everything kind of close to the fairway. Usually anything about 10 or 20 yards. I like to clean up a bit. So we'll add in our own trees later. Alright, so that opens things up a bit. I think just for sake of this being a bit easier, I think I'm going to get rid of this water here. But maybe sneaking some water, kind of a little lake off the first tee. Not in play, obviously, but just maybe decoration-wise. So I'm not using the water tool. I'm already at water level, so I might just use it like that. Then just flattening some area in here for a smoother transition. So I think this is a common mistake of a lot of designers is they know what they want in the sculpt tool. With the sculpting, they just hard to achieve it. And honestly, this tool here works magic for that nice smoothness that you're probably looking for. Okay. So maybe we'll extend this lake out maybe a tad more. Like that. Sure, why not? Okay. So, that, I think we'll stop there for our first video. Let's just, I don't want a lake back here. We'll make this higher. Sorry, I said we were going to stop here. Maybe the hill here would be kind of neat. I'm getting distracted now. The hill back here, we can do some planting. Maybe I can show you some rock work, things like that. Okay, cool. So we'll stop our first tutorial there. So far we've kind of got the skeleton of the hole. We've got our tee boxes. We've got our fairway. We've got our green. So now we need to look at bunkering, a little bit more sculpting, and then get into some planting. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I will see you in part 2.